Single-celled bacteria in Kingdom Monera are masters of survival, thriving in extreme, boiling deep-sea vents. But without a nucleus or internal organelles to organize their chemistry, these organisms hit a biological ceiling that limits how large or complex they can grow. Kingdom Protista represents a specialized anatomical upgrade. These are eukaryotes, meaning their cells house a prominent, well-defined nucleus alongside membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria and Golgi bodies. Because this microscopic world operates entirely out of sight, we use specialized optical magnification, like this antique compound microscope, to observe their behavior. Under the lens, we see a variety of mechanical solutions for moving through water. The Paramecium is covered in thousands of tiny, hair-like cilia that beat together in waves to glide the cell forward. The Euglena takes a different approach, propelling itself with a whip-like tail called a flagellum. It also adapts its feeding strategy based on its environment, using chloroplasts for photosynthesis and sunlight, but switching to nutrient absorption when the lights go out. By compartmentalizing these different strategies for movement and feeding within a single cell, Protists established the internal organization that would eventually allow more complex, multicellular life to exist. These technical drawings of a single amoeba princeps show the organism in two vastly different forms. It is a freshwater protist that lacks a permanent skeleton, resulting in a body that is in a constant state of physical flux. The amoeba's irregular shape is held together by a thin plasma membrane. Inside, the cytoplasm is divided into two distinct zones, a firm outer layer called the ectoplasm and a fluid inner core known as the endoplasm. Within that fluid endoplasm sits the double membrane nucleus and a pulsing contractile vacuole, which acts as a pump to regulate the cell's internal water pressure. This internal fluid determines how the organism moves. Instead of swimming, the amoeba relies on the directional flow of its own cytoplasm, a process called amoeboid movement. When it needs to move, the internal protoplasm surges outward, pushing the membrane into a finger-like projection called a pseudopodium. To change its direction, the old projection dissolves back into the body as a new one inflates elsewhere. This means that for the amoeba, anatomy and locomotion are the same thing. The cell's physical body is continuously dismantled and rebuilt just to take a single step forward. This fluid architecture also drives holozoic nutrition. During the ingestion phase, the amoeba Pseudopodia fuse over its prey, sealing it inside an internal food vacuole. Once the prey is trapped, digestive enzymes enter the vacuole to break the solid material down into simple, soluble molecules. These nutrients then diffuse through the cell during the absorption and assimilation phases, where they are used to build new protoplasm. Finally, any undigested waste is carried to the rear of the cell, where the membrane ruptures to expel the material back into the environment. Respiration is handled with similar simplicity. Without specialized organs, the amoeba relies on gas gradients. Oxygen from the water diffuses directly in through the membrane, while carbon dioxide diffuses back out. Within this single cell, the amoeba carries out the same essential systemic functions, digestion, gas exchange, and waste removal, that much larger animals achieve using entire organ systems. When food is abundant and the water is safe, the amoeba reproduces through binary fission. The nucleus divides into two equal parts, followed by the cytoplasm, which pinches down the middle as the parent cell yields two identical daughter cells. However, sudden changes in the environment, like starvation or harsh weather, force the organism into a defensive survival mode called multiple fission. The amoeba retracts its projections and secretes a hard protective cyst, sealing it from the hostile outside environment. Inside, the parent nucleus and cytoplasm divide repeatedly, creating dozens of tiny fragments, waiting for conditions to stabilize. When conditions become favorable, the cyst wall breaks open, releasing a swarm of daughter cells into the water simultaneously. In this context, reproduction serves as a biological shield. By multiplying rapidly inside a shell, the organism uses sheer numbers to ensure its lineage survives a hostile environment. This life cycle raises a question about the nature of mortality. Since the parent amoeba simply becomes its offspring, rather than leaving a dying body behind, is this cell biologically immortal, or can extreme stress eventually trigger a true biological death?